Hey everyone. Welcome to episode number 31 of the Talking Perspectives podcast. I am joined tonight by the totalitarian overlord of the Sonic Perspectives vast media empire, the one and only Joel Barrios.
When you call me like that, I feel like I'm the frontman for Dimmu Borgir or something. Totalitarian overlord.
Well, I only call you that because you're from Cuba.
Really? I, I love you too, Gonzalo. Fuck you.
Lies. Joel, what's up, dude?
Okay, well, today we're going to do something different, a little bit different, and hopefully shorter than our usual discussions that span hours and hours. So, with the echoes of the 20th edition of the North American premier Progressive and Power Metal Festival, ProgPower USA, still ringing in our ears.
Your ears, not mine. I wear earplugs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't have money to buy earplugs. Who are you kidding?
I steal
Well,
them.
on the heels of the announcement of days 3 and 4 of the event selling out last week, we are here today to discuss about the band's lineup for day 2, which runs separately from the main event. And who better to bring all the details about what is transpiring for that Thursday than the promoter and mastermind himself, Mr. Milton Mendonça?
That's not how you pronounce his name. You pronounce his name Mr. Evergrey Fanboy.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest Evergrey fan on earth. That's him.
I probably am number 3. I think Glenn definitely takes the top. And then our friend Todd Weimer would probably be number 2.
I was actually going to mention Todd. I think you and Todd are duking it out for number 2.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, come on. You and Todd as the best losers. Come on.
How are you guys doing tonight? Anyway,
we're terrible. We are terrible human beings. This is how we welcome our guests, Milton. Welcome to the Talking Perspectives podcast.
Thank you, and it's nice to be here talking with you guys.
Milton Mendonça, o outro terror do Brasil.
Oh my.
Look at you. That's impressive. Did you memorize this for tonight?
Google Translate. I only speak Spanish.
Sure he did.
Okay. Before... Okay, let's get down to business. Before we delve into the details of the bands that you have gotten to play on day 2, I want some dirt. Okay? So you and other co-promoter Nate Block, you guys have been in charge together of ProgPower Days 1 and 2 for years, but that is no longer the case. What's going on, man?
I mean, it was as simple as us deciding that, let's try something different and let's go separate ways. I think because both him and I ultimately have different opinions and different ideas of what the show should be like in terms of bands, in terms of production, etc. So, there was no hard feelings or anything like that. It was just like, hey, you want to do your thing, go do your thing, I'll do my thing. And I'm sure it'll be great for everybody. So it was really as simple as that. He has his own vision. He has his own idea of what the show should be. Mine happens to be a little bit different. So I think it's probably happening at a good time in terms of, let's do it now while things are still good. and there's no issues, than to wait and see if issues happen and then do it that way. It was as simple as that. It gives, Nathan free reign to book the bands he wants to book. It's no secret that we have different tastes in terms of bands a lot of the time. So, I think it'll be the best for everybody at the end of the day. And I have no doubt he's going to come up with a solid roster as well for day 1. So I do think it's a very solid get though to have PowerQuest on the first day.
Yeah.
Well, at least now he's back to the main room. I mean, Wednesday is back to the main room is not at the Loft anymore. So good news for everybody.
I was just going to say it's something that had been discussed in the past. And again, I'm not going to step on his toes, but there's a reason why he's going to the main room. And I'm sure everybody will be excited about it.
I was personally completely okay with night one being at the Loft upstairs, because that's what they called it, the pre-party, I think, back in the day, and then they called it the kickoff for a little bit. But it used to take place up there, and I thought that it was a great experience. I like the intimacy of it. I like how I personally prefer small shows like that sometimes. So for him to go there, I thought was completely okay. But at the same time, him moving into the main auditorium, I think is even better, and people seem to have responded pretty well to that. Now, I'm pretty sure that you guys, after working together for so many years, still kind of have to consult each other, like, hey, let's not try to book the same band.
It's funny that you say that, because that was, I'm not going to call it a problem, but that came up this year for sure.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, he... So after I had already gotten North Tail confirmed, unbeknownst to Nathan, he actually, reached out to Bill and discussed the possibility of having them play on his day, and it was a semi. It wasn't quite drama, but it was a little confusion going back and forth. So. I guess the answer would be we should consult each other a little more, but that's not quite the case this year. That didn't quite happen, but I think that was the only one, though.
Well, regardless of the blueprint of day 1 and 2 now, I'm certainly hoping for an enthusiastic response on ticket sales for both days for 2020. And certainly your lineup for next year is second to none. That's an honest opinion. The first lot of the night is taken by Darkwater. The Swedish melodic progressive metal band released a fantastic new album entitled Human last March, one that we properly reviewed. And in case anyone listening missed it, you can go to our website, www.sonyperspectives.com, and read that article there. And I got to say that I was unsure whether these guys were still in business, as their previous album, Where Stories End, dates back to 2010, give or take. So after a huge gap of 9 years, Human chose the band betting on some sort of a more melodic and atmospheric approach. But at the same time, the guys are delivering over 75 minutes of music and 10 songs that are extremely strong. So, Milton, tell us about your decision to book them and anything else you might want to add.
I liked Darkwater probably from the debut, actually, before they played the festival the first time, as a matter of fact. And was, like you guys, wondering what had happened to them. Like you said, the last album came out almost 10 years ago. So I gave the band for dead, basically. And heard that the new album was coming out, checked it out. And honestly, I don't think I remember any band going through such a long period of time being inactive and releasing such a strong album in the comeback.
Yeah.
When I heard the single, actually, it's funny that, real quick, you mentioned, me and Nathan discussing a lot about the bands. I actually talk to Glenn about the festival literally every single day of the year. Whether we're bullshitting back and forth about life, or talking about bands, or talking about business, it's always, we're always talking, like I said, every day. And when the first single came out, we both texted each other the same day. We're like, dude, did you hear this? So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. Like, I immediately knew that I wanted those guys back, providing that Glenn wasn't going to try to book them first. we have to respect the totem pole, so to speak. They were actually the first band that I reached out to, and they were the first band that I had confirmed. I heard some people questioning whether or not they should be in the first slot of the night, and my reasoning for that was basically just to have a band that is a genre favorite, so to speak, with this new album. I mean, it didn't get a single bad review, not that I saw. So what better than having a band coming out with one of the, they were one of the bands that were asked the most to be at the festival in our pages. So it just made total sense. Why not open it up with a bang? And I think they're the perfect band for that.
Yeah, I mean, you actually took my line because I was going to ask you, considering that they were like extremely well received when they played in 2011, and they seem to have like a pretty solid fan base. Why would they be your first band, the opening band? But you just said it, like there's nothing wrong. We started strong. We just like going all out since the very beginning.
Right, and I think we probably squished the idea of an opener, with the rosters that we've had in the past. I don't necessarily think they are opening for anybody in the festival. They just happen to be the first band to play.
Yeah, exactly.
And not to mention, last time they played the festival, they had a lot of technical difficulties. Their set got cut short. So, hey, if they can finish setting up and are ready to go 10 minutes early, let them go on 10 minutes early and play a little extra. So I figured that would be a good way to start the show.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So following a returning established band that already has a solid fan base, after them, you've got a band that just released their very first album this year, Northtail. Yeah. So if you go to ProgPower, you know Bill Hudson. You've seen him on stage at least 50 times. and he likes to hang out, like everybody knows Bill. So, yeah, we all know him, and he's got this group together with Christian Eriksen and Patrick Johansson, and they're hell-bent on bringing, on doing the power metal thing and doing it really well, which to me is pretty cool because even though I'm not a huge power metal guy, I also know that Bill has a background in other types of music. He's got that Morbid Angel band, I Am Morbid, with David Vincent. So I think that this shows his versatility really, really well. But anyway, solid power metal, lots of melody, big choruses, really, really fast technical stuff. Kind of wonder what else they're going to play in their set when they've only got one album under their belt.
Well, I can't. I honestly haven't even seen their set list on their shows that they've played. I think they've done a few shows by now, or maybe one show. I don't know. I mean, I have a feeling that they're not going to be revisiting anything of their previous bands. You know what I mean? I think they have a very solid debut. I don't think they need to play anything from any other bands, to be honest with you.
No covers.
Right. It's no secret to anybody that I've known Bill for probably 15, 16 years easily. And, I heard the very first demos, going back 6-7 years ago of material that would eventually become Northtail. I have received demos of Bill singing demo vocals in some of the songs, trying to figure out how the melody would go and, testing out different singers doing those songs. It was just really awesome to see it come to fruition. It actually become, Bill always said to me, dude, I want to have my band. Someday I'm going to have my band, my music. And, I give him shit all the time. It almost got to the point that I'm like, yeah, that'll never happen. But it's awesome, It's great music, first of all. And, on the personal level as well. I'm not going to lie to anybody. He's a close friend of mine. So he happens to also write excellent music. And, we had talked about, I said, when Northdale comes out for real with the album, I want your debut show in the States. And it was as easy as that.
Hey, just out of curiosity, did you and Bill know each other back in Brazil?
No, we met here through right as he joined Celador.
Yeah, that's when most of us met him.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I must confess that I did not listen to Northdale album, even though we received the promo from the label way before the release day, until you actually announced they were going to play.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, then I watched the official video for Everyone's a Star, and then I went straight to play the album. I'm not a big power metal follower, but they do have infectious choruses and impeccable musicianship, as you said.
It's funny, too, because the video that we used to announce the band, that particular song probably sounds nothing like the rest of the album. I think it's definitely the most different one. But it was a fun, little video that I figured, I don't like to use lyric videos or anything like that. They're like, well, what about this one? I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. What I like about them too is that it seems that in the last few years, too many of the newer power metal bands were doing the whole Rhapsody thing, with a lot of the symphonic stuff, a lot of the orchestrations, just very grandiose and huge, and I mean, I used to listen to Stratovarius and Halloween back in the day, and it's like I miss that more straightforward, simpler, for lack of a better term, power metal. Because it can be just as melodic, just as good as anything else, and that's what they did. And no, don't get me wrong, I love the orchestral stuff as well, all of the big, huge, production and all of that kind of jazz. The stuff that Rhapsody did back in the day. Twilight Force to me is one of the best power metal bands out there right now. I just thought Northdale would be a cool get, US debut, good music. I know they're really good guys, easy guys to work with as well. So I think people will dig it.
Yeah, balls to the walls, power metals with no frills.
Mm-hmm.
And if they play without any backing tracks, bonus points for them. I miss seeing bands play without backing tracks.
Yeah, and having the live keyboards makes a huge difference.
Yep.
I think that was one of the things that Bill told me that they wanted to do specifically, which was to play without or with as little backing tracks as they could.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a welcome change of pace, especially for a genre of music that often relies a lot on piped in stuff. So if they do that, that's admirable.
Yeah. And I don't mind the piped in stuff either, because if it's in the album, I would like to hear it on the show as well, one way or another. And let's be real. We can't get a 65-piece orchestra to go on stage and play, Symphony of Enchanted Lands, live. It'd be great if we could, but
I don't know. I saw Weird Al Yankovic play with a 40-piece orchestra this year, so
yeah. Well, it's. I don't think logistically it's an easy feat.
Okay, fair point.
But I think. I can't speak for them, but the live videos that I saw, the band is extremely competent live. So.
I do agree. If there's a bunch of overdubs and a bunch of stuff that is happening on a studio, I much rather to listen to that in the live presentation, even though they are piped in, than to not having them at all, because I would not be able to refrain myself from comparing towards the studio album back and forth. So as long as it's not fake, as long as people are really playing, which is the case, I really don't mind that much. I believe that
Yeah.
Gonzo was referring to the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not ragging on bands that use backing tracks. Like I don't hate it or anything. I don't think that it's cheating. But I really do prefer to see to see complex arrangements rearranged so that a group of 5 people can play it. That's just something that I personally prefer. So it's just a preference thing. That's all it is.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
and that's music, right? Each person likes their own thing, and no one is wrong. The only people who are wrong are the people who think that our rosters aren't good enough.
No. The only people that are wrong are the people who don't like Evergrey, right? Those are the
Now,
people that are wrong. Don't you think, Gonzo?
Oh my God, this is too
no
funny.
comment.
I like them. I work with them. I'm friends with them, but I don't know if I'd put myself up there as a huge fan, but sure, we'll go with it.
You admitted to us that you've seen Evergrey like 40 times. I think you're something of a fan.
Was it? It wasn't that many times. I think maybe 20. Let's be
Right.
real.
Oh, right. Right.
Anyway.
But that being said, they are not the band I've seen the most. So
That's because you're psychotic. Anyway, let's move on. The middle band.
Don't ask him what is the band that he has seen the most. Let's move on.
all right.
Okay, both of you shut up. The middle band. Jeez. The middle
See what happens?
band. Yes, you guys derailed my train of thought. I hate you both. The middle band of Night 2, ProgPower 21, next year in the year of 2020, is going to be a band that I have never heard before, that I've never heard of before. Who is the Ocean, Milton? Who is the Ocean?
I love it.
Why do they deserve? I'm not questioning their competence. I just want to know why the Ocean deserves to play over veterans like Bill Hudson and Darkwater.
Well, the Ocean is, what can I say about the Ocean? They're a German band that are they're definitely our oddball for the year, right?
They pay euros. That's the problem. That's the situation, Gonzo. While you're not seeing, they pay in euros. That's why they have the slot that they have. You're gonna edit this out, right? But that's the point, man. Come on.
Yeah,
don't keep on. We're clear now.
That would be a good edit to make. Yes. So the Ocean definitely are oddball, my oddball for the year. Kind of a progressive / post metalish sludgy band. Definitely a curveball to everyone. I will admit they are kind of the Poets of the Fall for Glenn last year. They are the let's test our audience out kind of band, and I also think they are one of the most talented metal bands there are, period, bar none. I tell a lot of people, they have an album that came out in, I want to say 2013 called Pelagio. And I think it's one of the most, it's such a genius concept album, both in terms of music, in terms of lyrics, in terms of the concept itself. And that was around the time that I discovered them, and they've been incredibly well regarded around the world. Maybe not so much within our scene, but they've played some of the most renowned festivals around the world. They've toured with bands that have been in our show before, Lepers, Between the Buried and Me. I've seen them on festival billings with Haken, with Voyager, with Devin Townsend, the list goes on. And somehow having such a different sound and something so not mainstream, so not accessible, they are often featured in publications like Billboard magazine. And
Really?
and yeah,
Hold on. Say that again so that I make sure that I heard you right.
Billboard has done features with the ocean before. I can probably find you the link and share with you guys.
Wow.
So I don't think people realize how big of a band they are worldwide. And I'm not saying they can come to the States and headline shows for 3,000-4,000 people, but they have a lot more fans than people realize. It's just that people within our scene, like I said, may not be familiar. It's as simple as that. They've done headline tours in the States, headline tours in Europe. They're actually on tour with Lepers right now over in Europe. They just did a headline run in Russia. And part of their tour, they did it by train on the Trans-Siberian Railway, which I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, because Russia's kind of huge. Let's not forget that. That's interesting because, like most bands that tour Russia, just play. They play St. Petersburg and Moscow, and that's like it. And those are all like in Western Russia, like you're practically in Europe.
Yeah, the music is certainly different than anything else, but I think that album Pelagio might be a cool entry point. And I also think. We as metal fans, and especially as progressive metal fans, we often talk about how, and I'm generalizing a little bit, but people always say, oh, we have more refined taste than anybody else. Oh, we don't just listen to whatever is pop music.
Yeah, we are kind of elitists, aren't we?
Exactly. So let's test out and see really how far you guys can go.
Now, it's been in my personal experience. I usually walk away thrilled after seeing one of the oddball bands. That's just me. So I haven't heard the Ocean yet, but everything that you've said about them so far makes me very, very curious.
The guy who found band, Robin Stapps, the guitarist, and I believe, if I'm not wrong, he writes the lyrics, the concepts, and everything. I mean, it's almost like he's on another level in terms of brain power. It's just so mind blowing, the stuff that he writes. So I really hope people will not only check them out at the show, but people will check them out ahead of time too, because especially with the last two albums with Pelagio and Phanerozoic, or whatever it's called. It really is. It's
Phanerozoic is the latest one.
It's really progressive music. The latest album, the concept they wrote about the separation of the continents. Way back in the day, like the Phanerozoic era, I guess.
Wait a second. You booked a science metal band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
dude. All right. I'm happy already.
Okay. So since you got happy hearing this, let me tell you about the album that got me into them. And I'm going to go a little longer on these guys because I really want, our audience to give them a shot. So their album before that, Pelagio. So the concept is basically that each song is one of the layers of the ocean, the actual oceans. Okay. And as you go from the first to the last track, you're venturing deeper and deeper and deeper. Right. But both the lyrics and the music itself are going darker and heavier and more oppressive as you're going down. So the idea is to mimic what somebody would feel, in terms of the pressure and the darkness and everything, sinking deeper and deeper into the ocean with the music. So
So it's like a heavier take on a Yes album, huh?
But it's really interesting because the album really does start with, beautiful piano and guitar melodies, like truly progressive stuff, clean vocals, etc. And by the end, you're just like you're gasping for air.
Drowning in the ocean.
Yeah. So
So if you were to compare the Ocean to any other band, kind of well known or better known to the ProgPower audience, who would be your? I mean, at least
that's a
remotely.
tough one.
I mean, to give our listeners just like a starting point.
Oh my God, that's
I mean,
a really
that I'm a little surprised that you're having trouble with this because I mean, ProgPower has hosted bands like anywhere between Gamma Ray and Isan. That's a pretty broad scope, and if you're having trouble finding a way to describe them, that really, really piques my curiosity.
eh, I have a really hard time. I actually just, went on my phone here on their Spotify page because it has the fans also like, or the sounds like, or whatever you call that.
Yeah.
And none of the bands listed are part of our scene, so to speak. I think Intronaut and Cult of Luna are probably the closest thing.
Ooh.
Yeah. I see other stuff that's listed here, Baroness, Rosetta, Pelican, Neurosis, Isis. So they really are more in that post-metal-ish. I'll tell you what, how about a little bit of Alcest?
Oh my God, I love those guys.
How about a little bit of Alcest? But not quite.
Now you're making me salivate.
But here's the thing, though. Are you guys familiar with that producer, Jens Bogren?
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, of course.
Well, he's been their producer for at least, I want to say at least 2 or 3 albums now. So yeah, there's a lot of crossover with what we consider our scene, so to speak.
So my very first impression of the Ocean, just based off of their name, was and what you're describing is very, very, very different from anything on Houses of the Holy. I'm really, really interested.
The one thing that always got me the most fascinated with them is if you look up some of their album reviews that the press wrote, the reviews themselves are somewhat of a piece of art, in my opinion. They're so well written. They're so intricate. They're such complex pieces of writing, and it couldn't be any different because the music and the albums are so complex.
You just described the way I write album reviews.
Yeah.
Joel can attest to this.
Yeah.
I am actually going to pull up a couple of reviews that I remember reading by them, and I'm going to send it your way because it's if those reviews are not going to be enough to get anybody to be interested in them, then I don't know what to say.
The Ocean, everybody, go do your research.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Do your homework.
yeah,
The
and if
Ocean.
anybody happens to see the band named The Ocean Collective, it is the same band. Just throwing that out there. Yeah.
Okay, kids, go do your homework.
Yeah.
That's right. Go do your homework. And it will be I have a feeling that Joel will be a little upset when they're on stage because their stage show, the lights is very monotone.
He shoots Sony, though. Sony's are really good in low light.
See, since the very beginning, when
Yeah.
you started describing the music and the theme running through the ocean, I mean, that album, Pelagial, that you started describing as the layers of the ocean, I could imagine a show completely backlit, just blue lights, and you can only see the silhouettes of the guys because they don't care about people looking at them. They care about people listening to them.
Look, it's not my place to say what they're going to look like on stage, but I picture, remember Catatonia a few years ago?
Oh, shoot.
That everybody was complaining, blah, blah, blah. The light show was terrible. It wasn't fucking terrible. It was great. that was part of the show.
Not if you're a
Oh, yeah.
photographer.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I mean, I don't
Well,
complain.
Joel
I
is
just,
good. He can figure it out.
I just have to produce results. And you don't have a lot of variety when you have like the guys ripping on stage and the music is amazing, but the only picture that you can take is just a black and white picture with silhouettes and smoke.
Sure.
Well, because that doesn't give like a visual perspective. But this is not about the visuals. This is about, at least what you're saying is about the music.
They're very artistic. Okay, they're
Okay.
extremely artistic, and I think they showcase that through the album artwork, through their merchandise, through the music, through the live show. I think people will be impressed. I think they will be on the level that, in my opinion, Green Carnation was a few years ago, and that was still probably my favorite ProgPower set ever.
Green Carnation is the reason that I started going back to ProgPower. So you just got my attention.
One more time. Well.
My curiosity
Gonzalo,
is piqued, y'all.
Gonzalo, before you get it hard on, let's move
Too late.
on. Oh, man. And it's so good that I'm just over Skype away from you and your tacos and
just
everything
be
else that is
grateful.
happening.
Just be grateful that I don't have my webcam on.
Well, now moving on, and we are heading towards the end of Thursday. I must confess I'm absolutely biased towards the band playing After the Ocean.
So am I.
Dude, I know. Joel loves Hevisaurus, dude. Loves them.
Who the fuck are those? No, man, no. Milton truly made my fucking year announcing Pain of
Gonzo, you're
Salvation.
killing me with the Hevisaurus thing.
Pain of Salvation playing the marvelous, the perfect element in its entirety. I can't die happy now. Did I ever tell you, Gonzo, how I discovered Pain of Salvation?
No, and I don't care.
Oh, come on. Seriously, I'll be brief.
You don't know how to be brief.
I do. I promise. I was living in my forgotten homeland of Cuba, and I have a terribly slow internet connection via a dial-up modem. Those that would interrupt your phone line while you were connected, probably neither one of you two were born then. That internet access I had through a friend of mine who worked for the government, and he would give it to me on the side.
Oh, he'd give it to you on the side, would he?
Fuck you, Gonzo. So I was speaking online in the forum.
You were doing what online?
I was speaking online in the forums and reviews at CD Now. Anyone here remember CD Now?
No, we were in diapers.
Really? Well, CD Now became Amazon,
time.
but they were seen back in the day. And while I was reading just about the first leaked track of the Dream Theater upcoming album, at that time it was The Prison Glass from 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, someone in the forum mentioned an album by a band I've never heard before called The Perfect Element. Now, take into account this, picture this. I could not go anywhere to listen, or the time my only salvation was to ask my dad, who lived here in the US, to buy the CD for me again blindly and bring it over whenever he visited, which could be months or years after the fact. So when the CD arrived, I opened it, played it for the first time, and it was the only thing I listened to for a week straight. So, Milton, where does The Perfect Element ranks for you on the Pain of Salvation discography?
Well, we made Remedy Lane happen.
Yes.
And I think it was going to be, it was just fair. It was just right to have the other top album in their career to make that happen live at ProgPower as well. So I think I'm extremely biased, though. Pain of Salvation has always been one of my favorite bands. Extremely biased. I have no problem admitting that. I also discovered them with The Perfect Element. I discovered them in 2002 because I was going to be attending this festival as a fan called ProgPower. Funny how things happen, right? And a friend of mine who is Now he's also a partner of mine in shows. Lucas Novaes, I'm sure he's going to listen to this, so cheers to him. In Brazil, he was attending the festival as well, and he said, dude, you got to check out these guys. And he sent me the track Used, which is the opener of the album.
Mhm.
And I was hooked right there and then. And it's funny, you know, music, there's certain albums that really evoke that thing where when you listen to a song or an album, it automatically transports you back to a certain period of your life.
Yeah.
You know, I have a good dozen or so albums that I listen to, and immediately it takes me back. And you know, it takes me back to that time, to living, you know, at my parents' house in 2002, 2003, listening to that in the car, listening to that, going to school, to work nonstop. I have been working with Pain of Salvation for a few years now as well. You know, I did a couple of tours for them here. So, you know, when I started building the roster for the show, you know, I had spoken to Daniel. He said, you know, we are going to have a new album coming out at some point, you know, next year. It'd be great to come back. And then I'm looking at their discography and I'm thinking, well, you guys did a really special show last time, you know, the Remedy Lane show 5 years ago. How, you know, you guys can't just come back and play a regular set. You know, we got to do something special. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, wait a second. The Perfect Element was released in 2000. That's 20 years. That's 20. And I don't even know if Daniel realized that. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, listen, remember that day when I asked you really nicely if you would play Remedy Lane in its entirety at ProgPower on Glenn's show? He's like, yeah, I remember. And I'm like, what if I asked you really, really nicely to do something similar next year? And you know, the idea kind of stuck in his mind, and you know, we didn't talk for a little while after that. And then it was time to close up the roster. You know, got in touch with him again, with their manager, and it worked out. You know, I'm thrilled. I think both as a promoter and as a fan, you know, I think it's one of the classics of the genre. It's one of the classics of our scene. I think it'll be a great show. I think it'll be very special.
It will be.
And I think
very
it's
special.
completely appropriate that they go back to the Perfect Element, not only because it's the 20-year anniversary of the album, but also their old guitar player Johan is back in the band now. So
Correct.
Completely appropriate for them to do this.
You know, the one thing that Glenn really tried to do with ProgPower that really sets it apart from any other show in the world is to offer the fans here in the States something that they probably couldn't see otherwise, right? So that's why a lot of the smaller, you know, European metal bands come, you know, because why would we pick so many bands from overseas as opposed to bands from the States, for instance? It's because, you know, you could travel to Texas to see that Texan band. You know, it's probably going to be easier than going to, you know, to France or to Japan to see that Japanese band. You know what I mean? So, so I always try to take that to heart when it came to booking the rosters. You know, I always tried to keep in mind, you have to offer something special. You have to offer something that people are not going to necessarily see on tour, you know, in their city a week later. You know, it happens sometimes, sure. But, you know, it's just that drive to continue bringing different shows that people will like and that people will think is worth traveling to see. You know, it's kind of funny too, because going back to Pain of Salvation, to Daniel, the last time he was here in the States on tour with Pain of Salvation, you know, after the tour was over, They still had a day or two in New York City, and I live about an hour out of New York City. I said to them, why don't we meet up for dinner? It was a Monday night, totally ridiculous. Just get out of work, drive down to New York to go have dinner with the guys, and we were talking back and forth about ideas where we're going to go eat and whatever, the day before. And Daniel says to me, you know what? Make it memorable. I said, okay. So anyway, we wound up going to this ninja themed restaurant in New York City.
Ninja. Wow.
Total gimmick. But we had a great time, and that has since sort of become a thing that I always think of him saying that to me, make it memorable. So it was one of the things that I said to him when we were talking about, the perfect element of ProgPower. I said, we have to, as you said a couple of years ago, we have to make it memorable. We have to make it special.
Yeah.
So it almost came, full circle.
It came back to bite
in a
him
way.
in the ass.
Yeah, right.
Now, Milton. So tonight we're recording this on November 12th, 2019. The announcement that Hevisaurus will be one of your headliners for night 2 of ProgPower next year hasn't been announced. And when you told me last week, that Pain of Salvation was going to be playing on your night, I distinctly remember telling you immediately that you just made a ticket sale by telling me that. So, my own history with Pain of Salvation goes back a little further than you guys. My first album from them was 1 Hour by the Concrete Lake, which I liked enough to order Entropia, because back then, what were our options shopping back then? I think I ordered Entropia from the Laser's Edge.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, back in the day. So and I really liked Concrete Lake, and I liked Entropia a lot. And then and so when the Perfect Element was announced in the summer of 2000, I was excited. It had been a long time that I had been that excited for an album to come out. And so I was a first day buyer. It was a Tuesday because that's when the albums came out back then. I got out of class and I went straight to Hogwild Records next to San Antonio College, and I bought the Perfect Element, and I didn't have the option of putting it in my CD player as I drove because my car back then didn't have a CD player. So I drove straight over to my then girlfriend's dorm, and she had I had already turned her on to Pain of Salvation. We were both fans, and so I get over there, and I was like, "Ooh, look at this! Look what I got! All excited and stuff." I put it in, and the first song, which it had been released online, but I had made it a point to not listen to it. I put it on. Right. The first song is used. Have I ever told you how much I really, really dislike nu metal? I don't like it at all. So when Used came on, my face was completely contorted in absolute disgust until the chorus came up. That beautifully harmonized chorus. And at that instant, my face went from completely contorted to big fucking smile. And
that's awesome.
By the end of that hour, The Perfect Element was my album of the year.
That is a first of all, I don't think anybody who was. I find it really hard to believe that anybody would listen to this album the first time, straight through, and not have anything positive to say. I can relate to that feeling listening to Used. Like I said, that's one of the albums that I put on, and it immediately takes me back to that time, listening obsessively to it, listening, reading the lyrics, trying to understand the concept and this and that. It's just, I don't know. It's very special. You know, Remedy Lane is a very special album to me as well. You know, for other reasons, but I really, I think those are my top two, and I thought it was like I said, as a promoter professionally, it's a great get. I think a lot of people are going to be happy. I think we're definitely going to sell some tickets based on that show alone. But I also, you know, on the personal level, it's like, how fucking great that I get to watch that. You know.
I gotta ask you though, like you told me a week ago, like on the 5th of November, that Pain of Salvation was going to be one of your bands. It is currently the 12th of November, and you still haven't made the announcement. What's going on here, dude?
We have been confirmed, but my understanding is that their manager likes to get the green light from all of the band members in terms of announcing. And you got to remember, like, this is a band I have a personal, you know, I have a professional relationship with for many years. It should not be this difficult, but their keyboardist, I don't know if he is doing a string of shows with another artist he works with. I don't know what's going on, but, you know, we just haven't gotten the confirmation from him.
Okay.
But, you know, their manager literally emailed me this morning. He's like, dude, the show is going to be on. We're okay. It's going to happen. We just need to wait on Daniel for the announce. And
Daniel D2 Daniel.
D2 Daniel Carlson. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. D2. So, you know, I have to tell you that there's still a little 0.01% of me that's terrified that something's going to go bad.
Well, I mean, if worse comes to worse, you can always book Hevisaurus.
I could always just cancel the show altogether as well. No, I'm kidding,
really grateful that you booked Pain of Salvation. It's been a long time. The last time I saw them on the ProgPower stage was 2006.
Oh, that's not right. You missed the Remedy Lane show.
I missed Remedy Lane, and actually I missed the first time they played in Atlanta. I saw them at ProgPower 1 and blew my mind. But I did not go to ProgPower 2002 because I became a dad that September. So
I can relate. The year my son was born, I didn't make it either.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a pretty good excuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
oh yeah.
But we did make it to see them in 2004. They did not play anything from B, and that was really disappointing. It was a fan picked set list, but like they've never.
Yeah, that was. You know what I remember about that show in 2004 specifically was that when the fans picked the set list, yes. Yeah. But when it came to the band building the set list in order, they literally put all of the songs in a hat, the names of the songs in a hat, and took one by one. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but they opened the show with Undertow.
Yes. That was such a mind fuck, but it was perfect.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like the lights all went dark. They started drawing the curtains while the band was opening that song, and it was Undertow. Whoa. That was really
nobody saw that coming.
No, and I'm glad that they did it. I love being surprised like that.
It was and it was my first time seeing them, you know. So it was, I don't know, it sticks with you, you know. And I had to pull up the whole set list for that show. By the way, I have it in front of me. They opened with Undertow, which is so cool. Yeah, you mentioned 1 Hour by the Concrete Lake. That's probably another one of my favorites by them. Yeah, I think it's overlooked in their discography overall.
Yeah, like personally for me, the albums that eclipse everything else that they've done are The Perfect Element, B, and Passing Light. Passing Light is a wonderful piece of work.
Yeah, it is.
And I got nothing against the Road Salt albums. I like them. But Passing Light, dude.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a Pain of Salvation tattoo. What can I say? You know.
Let's discuss Stratovarius. Like personally, like I kind of stopped following them after Infinite just because like my interest for that kind of metal kind of started waning. So yeah, that was a while ago. I do remember that they did that publicity stunt where they pretended to fire Koti and Jorg and I think Yari, and they hired they fake hired a new singer, who's I think her name was Miss K. But anyway, like one thing led to another. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like we all thought that shit was real.
It's funny that you bring that up because a little bit after that, when everything came back to normal, for lack of a better term, so I got started in the music industry doing music press. You know, I started with the webzine that I was writing for, you know, and doing reviews and interviewing bands and whatever. And shortly after that, when Stratovarius finally made it to the States for a tour, I got to interview Timo Tolkki. And we went into talking about that story, you know, the whole Miss K thing. And he basically looked me in the eye and said, yeah, no, everything was true. Everything really happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was like, wait, really? Like thinking, you know, like, but needless to say, you know, there's deeper issues over there going on.
Yeah. I also remember, I think, Jens Janssen took a leak on Timo Tolkki on stage or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Weird stuff happening in that band around that.
It was a weird period, but I'm glad that that's behind them.
Yeah, I don't remember them ever touring the United States though. Like I know that they've played in Canada, and I saw them in Mexico. But like apart from that, I thought that their only U.S. shows have been at ProgPower. Am I mistaken?
No, they did a couple. They did a couple tours. They definitely did a couple tours. I remember, you know, the first time I saw them was actually in New York City. Or maybe it was at ProgPower and then New York City.
Okay. So that would have been about 2005?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they did tour, and my understanding is that their last tour didn't do too great. It was kind of in those years that all power metal tours were doing really bad here in the States. I'm not sure if that's the reason why they haven't been back since. Mm-hmm. It could very well be. I don't know. But they've, you know, the thing with Strato is I don't think the newer stuff, the latest stuff, maybe the last 4 or 5 albums, I don't think any of them were necessarily bad.
You know, I haven't heard a whole lot of them, like ever since like Matthias and Rolf and Laurie have been in the band, but what I've heard sounds really good.
Yeah, you know, they've maintained. I think it's more of a public perception that it's not as good as they used to be, and it's hard to compare because, you know, their music from before were such classics of the genre.
Yeah,
it's really hard to compare. But the current stuff is really fucking good.
Yeah.
You know,
like I said, I haven't heard a lot of it, but what I've heard is really solid.
Yeah, and they're a titan of the genre. You know, they're one of the big names. You can't say they're not. You know, back in the 90s, you know, what I consider to be the golden era of power metal. You know, a lot of people will disagree, but that's their own problem. You know, it was Blind Guardian. Mm-hmm. Blind Guardian and Halloween, and Halloween even before that. Blind Guardian, Gamma Ray, Angra, Stratovarius, and Rhapsody. Like those were the bigger bands.
Yeah.
And then came Sonata Arctica, and then came Camelot, and then came Symphony X. You know, Strato is always going to be one of the legendary bands in the genre, whether it's back in '95 or now. So, you know,
They only needed a couple of albums to get into the elite of power metal forever, to be honest.
you know, they between their older stuff like Fourth Dimension and Episode, you know, Visions, Destiny, Infinite. I mean, they're all classics.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with people saying, you know, I'm not a fan. I don't like it. It's not for me. But don't tell me that Strato is not one of the biggest bands in the genre, because that's just ludicrous.
Yeah, that's a dumb argument to make, and
No, no.
and I concur.
Right.
Episode and Visions to this day are among my favorite power metal albums. You know, and I say that as
believe
somebody that openly does not care much for power metal, but those albums are excellent.
I'm gonna say more. I don't listen to power metal probably at all. Maybe let's say like it accounts for the 5% of the music that I listen to. And if you tell me that Strato is playing any album from Episode all the way to Infinite anywhere in the US, I will go. That says it all.
They are that good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and even some of the albums that got a little more criticism from the fans had great songs in them. Like, you know, one of my favorite Stratovarius songs is Eagle Heart from the first Elements album.
Yeah, it's a really catchy tune.
Yeah, it's a
It
good
really
tune. I
is.
remember
It
that
really
one.
is. Yeah. So you know, that self-titled, after all of the nervous breakdown that Toki had after the Miss K incident, that had some great songs in it as well. It's I just don't think people give the newer stuff enough credit, because a lot of people don't give it that much time, you know, to listen to.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
they're really,
you know, to be fair to those fans, though, I mean, when a band loses its primary songwriter, I mean, like, okay, like even by the time Episode came out, there were already no original members in Stratovarius. But by that, but long before then, Timo Tolkki had made the band his own, and he is responsible for all their classic material in the '90s. And when he stepped away, and Jens and Koti continued to use the Stradivarius name, I mean, I think that they had every right to do that. He signed over the rights to the name, and you know, and that's fine. But I think a lot of people, took it a little too personally that they were continuing on as Stradivarius without Timo Tolkki,
right?
And that's kind of unfair.
You know, you have to remember too that I'm not sure of how the split was at the time. I'm not sure what was said by who, you know, but it's really easy to get somebody to make a statement, especially somebody with fans. And I'm not talking about Timo Tolkki specifically, or anybody in a band. When there's a split, it's really easy for people to listen to one of the sides and say, you know what, this side is right. I'm going to support this side. I'm going to, you know, wave the flag and wear the shirt kind of thing. And that's the side I'm choosing. And it's an unfortunate thing. It really is, because, you know, I don't know the story. I don't know what happened with Strato. You know, truthfully, I don't really care to know what happened. You know, I want to listen to the music. And if the new music without, you know, founding member A or classic member B is as good as it was before, then why should I not continue listening to it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, ultimately, the fans are never going to know everything that happened. You know, there's stuff that stays within those four walls of their office, you know, their meetings or whatever it is. You know, it doesn't matter how much a band will publicize something. You just never know. You weren't there. You know, so you know, stop feeding into the drama. Listen to the music. If you don't like it, if you don't think it's the same, okay, at least you gave it the time of the day, but I was surprised. I wasn't sure what Strata was going to be like without Toki, to be completely honest. And it was a positive surprise to me. So, I'm a fan. I'm not going to say I listen to them every day, but I think it's very solid. And I think, like I said, it's becoming really hard to book true headliners. This is something that Glenn and I have spoken to each other about many, many times, and we're getting to the point where there's not that many headliners left that haven't played the festival. A lot of the headliners tour all the time, so having Strato available and interested in doing the show was a godsend, because who else are we going to put up there? So I'm happy with it. I think everybody got excited. I saw that as well.
Yeah, they got a really good response.
Yeah, what's really funny, I have to say real quick, is that I saw somebody posting the day that Stratovarius was announced. Yeah, I saw some guy posting, well, with the news that Stratovarius is the headliner of day 2, I can confirm that we're not going to be attending the festival next year. I was hoping for something else, but that was not the case. Well, little did this person. So it just turns out that this person's favorite band is Pan Salvation. So,
oh my God!
So hey, if you don't want to attend,
they will have to take the back.
So that's our roster, man. I hope people dig it.
Dude, you got a good one, man. This I don't see a single band here that I would skip.
I like the balance. I like the way that one band coming after the previous one got nothing to do with the music that you just heard.
And then you got the oddball right in the middle.
It goes back to ProgPower 3, in my opinion, which was my first. It was Power, Prog, or ProgPower, Oddball, and then the two bigger names. And it's, to me, it's the quintessential classic ProgPower roster. You have two really solid prog bands, two really solid power bands, and another one that some people are going to be like, what the fuck are they even doing there? Yeah, I think it'll be great. I think all of the bands have somewhat of crossover to different genres that our crowd likes. Let's hope we see that translating into ticket sales.
Well, you should be proud of yourself. I mean, this is extremely solid in my opinion. And
thank you.
As you said, I am really hoping that translates into you selling out day number 2. And hopefully Nathan can do the same and things get better than they were this year. Absolutely.
And, I'm trying my best to avoid the pitfall of begging people to buy tickets, but help us out, because we only have a few more years of the show. We want to enjoy it as much as you guys do. So, it really makes a big difference buying the tickets early on, so we can plan the roster for the following year. And this is not just for my show, for Nathan's, for Glenn's. I mean, Glenn's is sold out now. He's good to go. He can lay down in the hammock, have a drink and celebrate. But I don't have a on sale date yet. It's going to be announced in the next few days. I just hope to see everybody there. I'm sure it'll be a great show, and I think personally I have a very solid roster for day 2. So,
dude, I think you're looking at a sellout.
I hope so.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
I think you are.
That's my hunch too.
It would certainly make things a lot less stressful throughout the year. I will tell you that.
I bet.
Because listen, at the end of the day, this is a business, and Glenn feels the same way and Nathan feels the same way. I can tell you this: the day I lose a dime with ProgPower, I'm done. So, we can't play around. So let's hope we can keep that streak going.
I'm curious
to see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the day 1 roster is going to be.
Yeah, it's. I'm curious too.
Oh, not gonna pry
That was
anything
a
from you
nice.
then.
That was a nice way to say nothing.
Something like that. If you guys pay me enough, maybe I'll give you some hints.
Oh man.
Do you take euros?
He does.
Always. Those are actually. It's actually recommended.
Good. I got a €5 coin at home. I'll mail it to you. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but we've done that already. Yeah, congratulations on a solid fucking lineup, dude.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me on this as well. I really, it's great to have a chance to talk about it and to remind people, buy a fucking ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a big ask, I think, because for people that attend all 4 days, I mean, that's almost a whole week of work that they have to take off just to make it happen. And
right.
And but we make it happen. I do it, but it is a big ask, and I think that the fact that you're offering something so good in return, I think it makes it worth it.
And that was one of the reasons too that I thought that Nathan and I decided to go separate ways, because he really, we're noticing more and more people saying, guys, I can't take the Wednesday off anymore. Mm-hmm. If the show starts on Wednesday, that means I actually got to fly in on Tuesday. So it's one extra night it's one extra day off that I need to take from work. So, Nathan wanted to scale it down, bring it upstairs, do a smaller show, have the roster, the lineup reflect that, and not have as much risk. Mm-hmm. But it just turned out that he's going for the big room again. So let's hope that people who buy tickets for days 2, 3, and 4 don't forget about day 1 as well.
I don't think I will. I'm hoping, as Gonzalo said, I'm hoping and crossing fingers for a sellout for you, and waiting for whatever Nathan has in store to see how that pans out for people. But your lineup is a killer. It's one of the best of the years that have been going to ProgPower, and I just can't fucking wait. It's all I can say.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that, dude, because it's I can't wait either. I don't know how I'm gonna run a show. I kind of want to see the bands too.
And the rest of us only have to figure out at which point during this awesome roster you got are we going to have a chance to have dinner.
Oof.
No tacos for you, Gonzo. No tacos.
I'll make my own damn tacos, motherfucker.
Yeah, bring the little granola bars. That'll be your dinner. I get it. A lot of people like to have a little break in between the bands or during the band that they don't like so much, but I think it'd be hard.
Milton Mendonça.
I appreciate the space, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You are welcome on the podcast anytime, dude. Anytime. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said to you on the phone, I love what you guys do. I listen to it every time I get a chance. It really is a pleasure.
There's only one condition for you to return. You gotta say how many real times you have seen Evergrey playing. Count them up. Next time for the next time.
All right. I'll have the number. I will have the number for you next time. I'm gonna say though, right off the bat, it's at least 12 for sure.
Yeah.
But I have seen Dream Theater 27, maybe.
Yeesh! Oh, wow! I've seen
Dream Theater, Opeth, and Symphony X are the 3 bands I've seen the most.
The 2 that I've seen the most are Fate's Warning and Opeth. Fate's Warning, I think I've seen 15 times. Opeth, I think 14. But mind you, I haven't seen Opeth since 2011. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so all the times that I saw Opeth were between 2001 and 2011. Mm-hmm. So, and that was at least, I think, 14 times.
My first Opeth show was the Damnation tour with Porcupine Tree.
Oh, man, I wish that one had come here.
Yeah, that was my first. And the last time I saw them was at Radio City Music Hall a couple of years ago.
Wow. All right, guys, we got to wrap it. That was a great chat. I appreciate it a lot, Milton. Like I said, you're welcome back anytime, dude. Thank you for being on, and thank you for what you do, man.
Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
Maybe
we will.
Maybe we'll have some more news coming your way. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. When you announce Hevisaurus as your next headliner, boom, it's happening.
This guy and Hevisaurus. Oh my God.
Oh my God.